All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. You remember that video of the Russian war jets buzzing our ship. And joining us now is Bill Gertz, senior editor of the Washington Free Beacon and national security columnist with the Washington Times. Bill, welcome, sir.
Hi, Steve. Always good to be on the program.
Always great to have you. You broke the story that there was another incident that I believe might have even preceded that one. Talk about it.
Yeah, last week on Thursday, a Russian Su-27 jet came dangerously close to one of our intelligence aircraft, an RC-135, over the Baltic Sea. This took place 2 days after we saw this dangerous flyby of the USS Donald Cook, a guided missile destroyer. Clearly, the Russians are stepping up their provocations against the U.S. in that area. A lot of concerns. The target here is the Baltic states. We saw Putin took over Crimea, and Ukraine is destabilizing eastern Ukraine. Very, very much concerned. The military is that he set his sights on the Baltic states next.
Well, I thought Obama stopped him. So let me ask you this. How common is this kind of provocation?
Well, it's not unusual, but the closeness and the dangerousness of these two recent incidents is unprecedented. I spoke to a Navy guy at the Pentagon. He said he's been on a lot of ships that have been overflown by Russians and Chinese jets, but he's never seen anything come as dangerously close as that incident with the guided missile destroyer Cook. As for the RC-135, it came within 50 feet of the aircraft. Now, when you do that, it's very dangerous. Any slight movement, any kind of turbulence in the area would cause a collision, and then the 12 or 15 members on that aircraft could have lost their lives,
Sure.
as well as the pilot of the Russian jet.
Absolutely. All right, I want to move on to another subject. You wrote a piece the other day, which is as frightening as this is, the Russian thing, which is chilling. It's something you and I have talked about before on this show and even in my radio days, and I've had other guests on talking about it. But nothing ever gets done, and I fear we're all in for a catastrophe. You talk about how 3 months after the Department of Homeland Security assured us that our grid is not at risk through a cyber attack, the FBI has come out and said, oh, yes, it is.
And what has changed is that there was a major cyber attack in Ukraine in December that turned the lights out for hundreds of thousands of people in that country. That's the bad news there. The worst news is that there are indications that this was clearly done by the Russians. And the software signature involved is a malware called Black Energy 3, which is known to be used, was developed by the Russians, and has been cited within our networks as well. These remote controlled infrastructure networks. So the FBI is launching a nationwide campaign. They've been giving briefings and webinars to utility companies, those that are most threatened by this type of a malware attack, and saying, hey, you've got to tighten up your security. You've got to be on the lookout for this type of malware attack that could shut down the power grid. You know, we've got 16 different critical infrastructures, but there's really only one critical infrastructure, and that's the electrical grid. If you shut that down, we're in the dark ages,
right.
Literally.
And where are we, if anywhere, on updating the grid? We talk about the EMP attack that North Korea, they just got to take one of their, or Iran, just take one of their rockets and launch it straight up into the air, some kind of nuke, and the EMP will shut down the grid too. We got 30 seconds.
Well, the electrical grid is vulnerable. They're trying to take steps to harden it. One of the benefits of the grids is that it is diffuse. There's three basic grids, the West, Texas, and then the East Coast. And they're trying to harden it, but it's a big challenge. And the problem is it's all in private hands. So the government really doesn't have a role. They're trying to urge the private sector to take steps to tighten up.
Unbelievable, just unbelievable. Bill, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you very, very much. Up next, folks, give me 5. More of Donald Trump. Don't go away.